This is basic electronics engineering. The paper code is EC201. It has 3 number of lectures. Total contact hour is 36 and the total credit is 3. Myself, Dr. Indranath Shakar, Associate Professor, Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering at JS College of Engineering, Kolleri. There are 4 course outcomes of this subject. The first course outcome is to study the PN junction diode, ideal diode, diode models and its circuit analysis, applications of diodes and special diodes. Basically, our focus is to develop the growth of the students' knowledge on the uh, foundation construction of the PN junction diode, as well as the different doping concentrations of the diode and the corresponding applications of the diode. So starting from the different model analysis of the diode for application in various types of circuits, we will carry out several mathematical examples which will give immense of knowledge to the students, so that students can play with diode, students can perform projects, create models using the diodes. The second course outcome deals with operational amplifier. Here our main focus is to develop the students' knowledge with the basic internal stages of the op-amp, so that students can freely demonstrate about the working principle of operational amplifier, starting from the basic amplifiers using op-amps such as the inverting and non-inverting amplifiers. Students will be able to create several types of circuits such as the differentiator, integrator, as well as buffer amplifier, instrumentation amplifier, so precision diode. There are various applications of operational amplifiers, and students can just play with op-amp so that they can create several types of projects using op-amp. And thereafter our attention will be towards the positive and negative feedback circuit. Here the students will go through the knowledge of the basic amplifier, and thereafter they will apply the feedback concept to the basic amplifier, so that they can enhance the parameters such as the input impedance, output impedance, bandwidth, gain of basic amplifier to some modified value. So feedback amplifier is another part of the control system which can give the idea of control system subject. The fourth one is dealing with the development and capability to analyze and design the simple circuit containing nonlinear elements such as the transistors, using the concept of load lines, operating points and incremental analysis. In this subject there are 5 modules. Module 1 is the basics of semiconductor, module 2 is the PN junction diode and its applications, module 3 deals with the bipolar junction transistor, and module 4 deals with the field effect transistor. Module 5 is the feedback and operational amplifier. Module 6 is the cathode ray oscilloscope. Now here the chronological arrangement of the subject module will be beneficial for the student to grow the knowledge from basic foundation elements to complex circuitry using the basic electronics subject. The prerequisite of this subjects is the fundamental of electricity, direct current, devices and circuits, series and parallel circuits, to the study of active and passive components, Ohm's law, Kirchhoff's law, and KVL, KCL, Ampere's law, etc. KVL stands for Kirchhoff's voltage law and KCL stands for the Kirchhoff's current law. The course outcome, program outcome mapping is having several weightage depending on the high, medium and low, which are numerically weighted by 3, 2 and 1. we have an explanation of such course outcome versus program outcome, because program outcome is assigned by National Board of Accreditation. There are 12 program outcomes which are mapped to the course outcome. Now the first course outcome, as we have gone through, it is the study of PN junction diode, ideal diode, uh, diode models, its circuit analysis, its applications, as well as special diodes. The weightage has been given maximally to the program outcome 1 and program outcome 12. The program outcome 1 states that it applies the knowledge of mathematics, science and engineering fundamental and an engineering specialization to the solution of complex engineering problems. Similarly, program outcome 12 deals with the part, the lifelong learning, in which it is stating that recognize the need for and have the preparation and ability to engage in independent and lifelong learning in the broadest context of technological change. So, as the basic foundation knowledge of this course outcome 1, which it dealt with, that is why it is mostly matching with program outcome 1 and program outcome 12, and there are medium weightage given to program outcome 2, 3, 5 and 11. Now the second program outcome is the problem analysis, and the third program outcome is the design and development of solutions, and the fifth one is the modern tool uses, and correspondingly 11th one is the project management and finance. So therefore these program outcome statements are getting the middle weightage, that means numerically 2 it is given. And the fourth program outcome is the conduct investigations and complex problems. Since we have minimum concept of start of the complex problem in this subject, because there is another advanced course, analog electronics, the students will go through in the fourth semester. They will be understanding in more detail, so that is why complex problems will be suitable in the analog circuit subject, not in the basic electronics. The main course objective of this basic electronics is to impart the fundamental knowledge to understand the basics of semiconductor and components like diode, transistor, FET, MOSFET and operational amplifier. It will be it will build mathematical and numerical background for design of electronic circuits and components value. Students equipped with the knowledge and training provided in the course will be able to participate in design and development and operation in the different area of electronic system. So therefore the basic electronics subject is actually, in a nutshell, is the basic knowledge for the several components, so that students can know the characteristics of those foundation components, and knowing the characteristics of the component, students can apply this component for their own project or own circuit development. And during the circuit analysis, student can measure the parametric value of the component, so that they will understand the status of the component, whether it is giving correct value or it is giving wrong value. So for this subject, a data sheet for individual component is also mandatory for students to see, because until and unless students go through the data sheet, they will not understand the detail of a particular component, because the data sheet gives not only the physical structure, dimensions, as well as various electronic parametric value for each and every component, and there are much more details given in data sheets, because it is made by the manufacturer. The topics to be discussed today are the definitions of the operational amplifier, characteristics, internal equivalent circuits, various stages of op-amp, and differential mode of operation. Today we will describe operational amplifier. First we will describe what is operational amplifier. Thereafter we will go to the characteristics of operational amplifier, internal equivalent circuits, various stages of operational amplifier, and thereafter some internal operations of the operational amplifier. Operational amplifier is nothing but a multi-terminal device. It is also a transistorized device, and it has various parameters which gives us voltage amplification in better way. That is, it has high input impedance, low output impedance, high operating bandwidth, and the voltage gain is also very high. There is a parameter which is called common mode rejection ratio, which is also infinity in ideal situation, but practically it is very high. The op-amp has symbolic representation in this way. We can say it has 5 number of terminals, and where V1 and V2 are the input voltage terminal. This is called non-inverting terminal, and this is the inverting terminal. That means whenever the V2 enters into the op-amp, it faces 180 degree phase shift. That is why it is a negative terminal. V1 is facing no phase change. That is why it is plus terminal. VCC is the positive bias voltage, and this is the negative bias voltage, which is minus VW, and V0 is the output. This VCC ranges from, it is 3 or 5 to 15 volt, and it ranges from minus 5 to say minus 15 volt. The internal equivalent circuit of op-amp could be So this is the internal equivalent circuit of op-amp, in which Rn is the high input impedance, and this is AOL-VD, a dependent voltage source, where VD stands for the difference between input two voltages. That means this difference voltage is VD. Now this difference voltage is ideally 0. This is almost equal to 0 volt, but practically it has very low voltage, and that will be amplified at the output by this AOL open loop voltage gain. And R0, which is ideally 0 but practically it has very low value, this is the output impedance of the op-amp. So therefore your AOL is equal to V0 by Vt, which is approximately, practical value is, it is 10 to the power 4. So as it is 10 to the power 4, very high value, we can think that if the Vd is 1 volt, then what will be V0? For Vd equal to 1 volt, we are getting V0 is equal to So theoretically we are getting that if Vd is 1 volt, V0 will be 10 to the power 4 into 1, that means around 10 kilovolt. But practically we are not getting such high value because the op-amp is biased by two number of voltages. One is the positive voltage, another is negative voltage. And see the voltage limitation, there is minimum 5 volt to 15 volt. Okay, and it is minus 5 volt to minus 15 volt. So if the upper limit is limited to 15 volt, how it is possible to get such high value, 10 kilovolt? So whenever we are getting some positive value with some higher value exceeding this 15 volt, we are getting V saturation at the output. So therefore our output is within plus V saturation and minus V saturation. Where plus V saturation means it is the highest VCC minus 1.5 volt. That means we can write the V saturation
So this equation is important because sometimes our output voltage may exceed theoretically to very high value. So at that time your output will be limited to this value. That is, if it is more positive compared to VCC, at that time output will be limited to VCC minus 1.5. So if your VCC is 15 volt, then that means 15 minus 1.5 gives you 13.5. So that is the upper limit of the output voltage. And if it is very much negative voltage, that means suppose it is minus 50 volt or minus 60 volt you are getting theoretically, it will be limited to VW plus 1.5. That means it is a minus 15 plus 1.5 gives you minus 13.5 volt. That is the lowest value. So if your biasing voltage is within plus 15 to minus 15, that means your output will be limited to either minus 13.5 or plus 13.5, not beyond that. So this is all about the internal equivalent circuit, which is apparently visible. The op-amp has two type of operation, either open loop or closed loop. As in case of open loop, we already have seen the output is limited to class V saturation. That is, class V saturation is given by VCC minus 1.5 volt and minus V saturation, which is equal to so this is the open loop situation in which the output goes to the saturation value, because your output V0 is equal to AOL into VD. So depending on VD positive or negative, AOL times VD will be the output, and if the output voltage exceeds the biasing voltage, at that time it is limited to either plus V saturation or minus V saturation. So if VD is positive, so therefore if VD is greater than 0, your V0 will be plus V saturation. So this is all about the open loop operation. And for the closed loop operation, it is normally a negative feedback circuit. So what is meant by negative feedback circuit? We already have seen the feedback amplifier stages, in which we discussed that fraction of output is sampled and mixed with the input side. So therefore, negative feedback circuit employed in case of closed loop operation, it is not going to the saturation voltage, but it gives some proportionate voltage by processing the negative feedback amplifier. So V0 is well below the saturation voltage. So now we will go to the internal stages of op-amp. What are the internal various stages of op-amp? We will find and we will explain one by one. So these are the internal stages of op-amp, in which differential amplifier 1 and differential amplifier 2, these are the similar stage which are coming two times, because they are responsible for giving high input impedance and high voltage current to the op-amp. And thereafter there is a buffer or level shifter. It is a emitter for a circuit that provides a suitable output level. That is, suppose your output of the differential amplifier has certain magnitude and required to be decreased to some lower value, so that level shifting is done by buffer or level shifter stage, and this output is fed to the output driver. The purpose of output driver is to produce sufficient amount of current which will be delivered to the load. So therefore it is also an emitter for our circuit, but responsible for high current to provide to the load, and therefore you are getting the output. So inputs are similarly V1 and V2, which are actually applied to the op amp, that is the non-inverting terminal and inverting terminal. These are the two inputs there. So first we will describe the differential amplifier. This is a differential amplifier in which there are two transistors Q1 and Q2 which are required to be identical. Identical means there are parameters which are varying from one transistor to another transistor that should have little amount of variation or least amount of variation between the two transistors Q1 and Q2. Now what are the parameters which are varying from one transistor to another transistor? That is base emitter voltage, beta current gain. So these parameters should be as close as possible for the two transistors. Now these are the two inputs, V1 which is a AC signal applied to the base terminal and V2 is also applied to the base terminal. We already have seen that for a transistor, if we apply AC signal which has very little amount of voltage of the order of millivolt, they are insufficient to turn on this base emitter junction diode. So that is why the VBB1 and VBB2 are the required DC battery voltage for making the transistor base emitter junction on. So once the transistor base emitter junctions are on, then we are applying V1 or V2 which are AC signal, might have positive sweep and negative sweep, will increase or decrease the emitter currents. So there are emitter currents which are flowing here. And these emitter currents are flowing through the RE, which is the resistance connected to the emitter terminal, and minus VW. So this is a negative bias voltage and here the positive bias voltage exists. Now for this differential amplifier, there are four types of operation possible. That is, either we can apply one input, that is V1 and V2 are same, that is called single-ended input, and at that time we can collect output from one of the transistor or the difference between the two transistors. So that is called single-ended input, single-ended output, single-ended input and differential output. And another way, we can take the differential voltage, that means whatever voltage applied here it will be inverted voltage. So that is called the differential input we are applying, and we can collect either the output from one transistor or the differential output, that is the difference between the V01 and V02. So later on we will go to describe these two different modes of operation. So first we will describe the differential mode of operation. In the differential mode, what we are doing, we are taking one input is inverted and applied to the another input. That means in differential mode, our V1 is equal to minus V2 and equal to Vd, say, or it is therefore V1 minus V2 is equal to 2 Vd. So if it is equal to V, therefore Vd is equal to V by 2. So this is equal to V1, this is equal to minus V2. So therefore our V1 is equal to V by 2 and V2 is equal to minus V by 2. So therefore we got the two number of input to be applied to the differential amplifier so that we can get the differential output. So let us apply this thing to the differential amplifier. So first we will discuss about the differential mode operation. In the differential amplifier, what we have done, we have applied V1 equal to V by 2. So this is our V1 which is equal to V by 2 and this is our V2. We already have seen that is one input is the inverted of the other input. So here this is your transistor 1 and this is your transistor 2. So therefore once this voltage is increasing, suppose V1 is increasing, so at that time what will happen? V1 equal to V by 2 and V2 equal to minus V by 2. That means the same input but inverted applied to the V2. So therefore when V1 is increasing, V2 is decreasing. So this is the theory by which the current will flow. So for the positive sweep, we are getting some increase in IE1. Okay, so suppose our IE1 increases. So at that time, what will happen to IE2? IE2 should decrease. Because whatever positive voltage you are applied here, the same negative voltage you are applying here. So when it is increasing, at that time it will be decreasing. Because both the input are same, only inverted at one terminal with respect to the other terminal. So that is why your emitter current is increasing at one terminal, or other emitter current is decreasing. So therefore the resultant emitter current becomes constant. So that is why in the resistor connected to the negative supply voltage has no change in emitter current. So resultant emitter current is not changing to the RE resistor. So that is why that resistor has been omitted. So whatever thing which is not changing in the AC equivalent circuit, here it is the AC equivalent circuit where the DC sources and the voltage which is not changing are removed. So that is why your VCC has been grounded, minus VW has been removed, and this emitter resistance also have been removed. So this is our equivalent circuit. Now we will draw the equivalent hybrid pi equivalent circuit, and thereafter we will go for the calculations. So what is the hybrid pi equivalent circuit for this stage? Now see, for the first resistor, this will be the equivalent circuit, that is plus V by 2 applied. It is actually V by 2 because V1 equal to V by 2, that you are applying, and thereafter it is the R pi, which is the internal base emitter junction resistance, forward resistance, and GMVB, this is the current which is flowing through the collector. GM stands for the transconductance and VB is the base emitter voltage, and this is your RC1. So whatever you are getting output across the RC1. So I can draw this one again. So I am drawing this one here again. It is So here what we are getting, now the voltage across this resistor is VBE. So I can write VBE is equal to V by 2. And here what we can write V01, which is this current is flowing in this way. So therefore this side positive and this side negative. So therefore V01 is equal to minus RC1 into GMVB. So therefore this is RC1 with negative sign, obviously, GM into V by 2. So therefore V01 by V gives us so this we got for transistor Q1. So we got this for transistor Q1. Now if we calculate the same thing for the transistor Q2, what will happen? For the Q2, your applied input voltage is minus V by 2. So therefore it will be changing. It will be minus and it is plus for the Q2 second transistor. So therefore your VBE is nothing but minus V by 2. So this VBE will be minus V by 2, and thereafter you can get all these equations. So this equation will not be negative, it will be positive. So your V02 becomes positive. So for V01 what we have got, for V02 we are getting the same thing with the polarity inverse. So therefore now what we can write, so therefore we are getting it is equal to GMRC, provided we already consider RC1, if RC1 equal to RC2 equal to RC. So under this situation we can write it is this. So therefore it is what? It is a differential output. Differential output divided by the input. So this is known as the differential mode gain, ADM. So this is our differential mode gain. Next we will calculate the common mode gain, and then we will find out the intended ratio, common mode rejection ratio, which is the ratio of the differential mode gain to the common mode gain. And ideally it should be infinity for op amp, but practically we are getting very high value.